I sat in Mr. Wilson's office, my hands shaking in my lap. My brother Alex sat across from me, his expensive suit perfectly pressed, his jaw set in that familiar expression of superiority. Our father had died 2 weeks ago, and today we'd finally hear the reading of his will. The leather chair felt too big for me, like everything else in my life had always felt too big, too important, too far out of reach. Alex caught my eye and smirked. "Don't get your hopes up, little sister," he whispered loud enough for me to hear. Dad knew who the real success was in this family. I wanted to say something back, something sharp and cutting, but the words stuck in my throat like they always did. 28 years of being told I wasn't good enough had trained me to stay quiet. Mr. Wilson cleared his throat and opened a thick manila folder. My heart pounded so hard I thought everyone could hear it. This was it. The moment that would define everything. Mr. Wilson adjusted his glasses and began reading in his professional lawyer voice. "I, Robert Chen, being of sound mind and body, do hereby declare this to be my last will and testament." The words felt heavy in the air, final and absolute. Alex leaned back in his chair, already looking bored, like he knew exactly what was coming. I studied the pattern on Mr. Wilson's desk, trying to prepare myself for disappointment. "To my son Alexander Chen," Mr. Wilson continued, "I leave the family business, Chen Industries, along with all associated assets, properties, and accounts." Alex's smirk grew wider. He didn't even try to hide his satisfaction. My stomach twisted into knots. Of course Dad had left everything to Alex. Why would anything be different? I'd spent my whole life being second best, second choice, second thought. "However," Mr. Wilson said, and that single word made the room go completely still. Alex sat up straighter, his smirk faltering. Mr. Wilson's eyes moved between us, and I noticed something strange in his expression. Was that sympathy? Or maybe anticipation? "However," he repeated, "there are conditions attached to this inheritance." My brother's face turned red. Conditions? What kind of conditions? Mr. Wilson held up his hand. "Please let me finish reading. Your father was very specific about how he wanted this handled." He turned another page in the folder, and I saw several documents attached with paper clips, each one marked with different colored tabs. This wasn't a simple will. This was something much more complicated. Alexander Chen will inherit the family business only if he can provide documented evidence that he has treated his sister, Maya Chen, with respect and fairness over the past 5 years. The words hung in the air like smoke. Alex's mouth fell open. My hands stopped shaking. What was happening? "This is ridiculous," Alex sputtered, his face now completely red. "Dad wouldn't do this." He knew I was the one who worked hard, who built the business alongside him. Mr. Wilson's expression remained neutral. "I assure you, Mr. Chen, your father was very clear about his wishes. He came to my office 6 months before his death and made these arrangements personally." 6 months. Dad had known he was dying and had planned this. I felt dizzy trying to process it all. "What kind of evidence?" Alex demanded. "Witnesses. Documents. What exactly does this mean?" Mr. Wilson pulled out another document. "Your father specified that you must provide testimony from at least 3 unrelated witnesses who can confirm you treated Maya with kindness and respect. Additionally, there must be no evidence of financial manipulation, verbal abuse, or deliberate exclusion from family matters." Alex's face went pale. We both knew he couldn't provide that evidence. The truth was about to come out. I found my voice for the first time that afternoon. What happens if he can't provide the evidence? My voice sounded smaller than I wanted it to, but at least I'd spoken. Mr. Wilson looked at me with something that might have been approval. "Then the inheritance structure changes completely. But let me continue reading before we discuss alternatives." He returned to the will, and I noticed his hands were steady while mine were still trembling. "I, Robert Chen, have watched my son Alex treat his sister with cruelty and dismissal for most of their lives. I have spoken to him about this behavior repeatedly, but he has not changed. Hearing Dad's words read aloud made tears spring to my eyes. He'd noticed. All those years I'd thought Dad hadn't seen how Alex treated me, but he had. I hoped he would mature, that he would learn to value family over competition. I was wrong. Alex jumped to his feet, his chair scraping loudly against the floor. This is insane. I'm calling my lawyer. There's no way this is legal. Mr. Wilson remained calm. You're welcome to consult with your own legal counsel, Mr. Chen. I assure you this document was prepared carefully and witnessed properly. Your father was very thorough. Alex paced the office like a caged animal. I watched him, feeling strange. For the first time in my life, I wasn't afraid of my brother's anger. Maybe it was because Dad's words had validated everything I'd felt for so long. Maybe it was because I finally understood I hadn't been crazy or oversensitive. Sit down, Alex, Mr. Wilson said firmly. There's more to read, and you need to hear all of it. Alex sat, but his jaw was clenched so tight I thought his teeth might crack. I waited, barely breathing. Mr. Wilson continued. If Alexander cannot meet these conditions within 30 days of this will's reading, the inheritance will be restructured as follows. He paused, and I swear I saw the hint of a smile. Maya Chen will receive 70% of Chen Industries, including all controlling shares and decision-making authority. The room spun. 70%. Controlling shares. Decision-making authority. The remaining 30% will be held in trust for Alexander, to be released only if he completes a program of family counseling and demonstrates genuine change in his treatment of his sister. Alex looked like he might be sick. His face had gone from red to an alarming shade of gray. This can't be happening, he whispered. But it was happening. Right here, right now, everything was changing. My father had left me the company. The company Alex had always said I was too useless to understand, too incompetent to run, too weak to deserve. There's one more section, Mr. Wilson said quietly. Your father included a personal letter for each of you. Maya, this is yours. He handed me a cream-colored envelope with my name written in Dad's careful handwriting. My hand shook as I opened it. Alex made no move to take his own letter, still staring at nothing. My dearest Maya, Dad's letter began. If you're reading this, I'm gone, and you're learning that I left you the company. I know this comes as a shock. You've probably spent years believing I favored your brother, that I didn't see your worth. I saw it, sweetheart. I saw everything. Tears rolled down my cheeks. I didn't try to wipe them away. I watched Alex belittle you at every family dinner. I heard him tell you that you'd never amount to anything. I saw him take credit for your ideas and watched you let him because you'd learned to make yourself small. Dad's letter continued, and each word felt like a hug I'd needed for years. I made mistakes as a father. I thought giving Alex responsibility would teach him humility. Instead, it taught him entitlement. I thought you'd find your strength without me pushing you, but I should have defended you more often. I should have stopped him sooner. I glanced at Alex. He was staring at his own unopened letter like it might burn him. I'm giving you the company not because I want to punish Alex, but because you're the one who truly understands what I built. You're the one who cares about the people who work there, not just the profits. You're the one who has the vision to take Chen Industries into the future. I could barely see the words through my tears now. I love you both, but love means different things. Sometimes it means giving someone everything they want. Sometimes it means giving them what they need to grow. Be strong, my Maya. You were never useless. Mr. Wilson gave me a moment to compose myself before continuing. There are also practical matters to discuss. Maya, your father left detailed instructions about the transition of power. He's already prepared the board of directors for this possibility. Alex finally spoke, his voice hoarse. The board knows about this. Selected members, yes, Mr. Wilson confirmed. Your father wanted to ensure a smooth transition regardless of the outcome. He's been preparing for this for months. I felt overwhelmed. Dad had planned everything, thought of everything. He'd protected me even after death. What do I do now? Asked. Mr. Wilson smiled. For the next 30 days, nothing changes officially. Alex has that time to provide the required evidence. If he cannot, which seems likely, you'll assume control of Chen Industries on day 31. Until then, the company will be managed by the interim board your father appointed. Alex stood up again. I need air, he muttered, and left the office without taking his letter. After Alex left, Mr. Wilson's professional demeanor softened slightly. How are you feeling, Maya? I laughed, but it came out shaky. Honestly, I don't know. This doesn't feel real. He nodded. Your father spoke about you often in our meetings. He was very proud of you. He never told me that. He regretted that immensely. He said he'd gotten caught up in traditional thinking, assuming his son would take over the business. It took him too long to realize that merit matters more than gender or birth order. I wiped my eyes. Can Alex really fight this? Can he take it to court? He can try, Mr. Wilson said carefully. But your father anticipated that. The will is airtight. Multiple witnesses, psychiatric evaluation proving his sound mind, detailed documentation of his wishes. Any court challenge would be expensive and almost certainly unsuccessful. That information settled something inside me. This was real. This was happening. I was about to inherit a multi-million-dollar company. The next few days passed in a blur. Alex didn't call or text, which wasn't surprising. What was surprising was the number of people who did reach out. My phone rang constantly with relatives, family friends, and business associates all wanting to check in or offer support. Most of them had ignored me for years. Their sudden interest wasn't hard to understand. I was potentially about to become very powerful. My cousin Jennifer called on day 3. Maya, I'm so sorry about Uncle Robert. This must be such a difficult time. We'd never been close. She'd always been part of Alex's crowd, the ones who found me boring and awkward. Thank you, I said carefully. Listen, I heard about the will situation. That's so unfair to Alex, don't you think? After all his hard work. There it was. Jennifer, did Alex ask you to call me? Silence. Then. He's really struggling, Maya. Maybe you could talk to Mr. Wilson, work something out. Hung up. Day 7 brought a surprise visit. I was making dinner in my small apartment when someone knocked. Through the peephole I saw Uncle Tom, Dad's younger brother. I opened the door cautiously. Uncle Tom. Maya, sweetheart. Can I come in? I stepped aside and he entered, looking uncomfortable in my modest space. Uncle Tom had always been kind to me, but he and Dad hadn't been close in recent years. I heard about Robert's will, he said without preamble. I wanted to make sure you were okay. Something in his tone made me trust him. I'm confused and overwhelmed, and honestly kind of angry that Dad never told me any of this while he was alive. Uncle Tom nodded. Robert called me 2 months before he died. He wanted my advice about the will. I told him he was doing the right thing. My chest tightened. You knew. Not the details, but I knew he was changing things. Maya, I've watched Alex treat you poorly for years. We all have. Uncle Tom sat down heavily on my couch. I should have said something sooner. We all should have. Your father wasn't perfect, but he tried to fix his mistakes before he died. Why didn't anyone ever stand up for me? The question came out more bitter than I intended. Why did everyone just let Alex treat me like I was worthless? Because it was easier, Uncle Tom said honestly. Because Alex was charismatic and confident, and you were quiet. Because speaking up meant family conflict, and most people avoid that. He looked at me directly. That's not an excuse. It's an explanation. We failed you. His honesty was unexpected and somehow freeing. Alex is trying to gather people to testify for him, Uncle Tom continued. He called me yesterday asking if I'd be a witness to him treating you well. Will you? Absolutely not. I won't lie for him, and I won't watch him cheat you out of what you deserve. I'm telling you this because others might not have the same integrity. Day 14 marked the halfway point of Alex's 30-day window. I spent the evening going through boxes of Dad's things that had been delivered to my apartment. Most of it was personal items, photos, and documents. Then I found a journal. Dad's handwriting filled page after page, dated entries going back 5 years. I opened to a random page dated 2 years ago. Watched Alex humiliate Maya at the board meeting today. She'd prepared an entire presentation on expanding our sustainable practices, innovative and well-researched. Alex interrupted her 3 times, made jokes about her tree-hugging ideas, and eventually took over the presentation himself. She sat down and said nothing. The worst part, her ideas were brilliant. The board approved everything, crediting Alex. I said nothing. I'm a coward. My throat felt tight. I flipped to another entry. Maya's birthday today. Alex forgot. She spent it alone while we celebrated closing the Morrison deal. She deserved better. Mrs. Patterson nodded. Your father believed in corporate responsibility. We're glad to see you share his values. The vote was unanimous. Over the next few months I made more changes. Employee satisfaction increased. Productivity actually went up. We landed new contracts with companies that valued our environmental commitment. Alex's 30% remained in trust, untouched. I'd offered to let him participate in the counseling program Dad had outlined, but he'd refused. I'm starting my own company, he told me in a brief, cold email. I don't need Chen Industries. I didn't respond. What could I say? Uncle Tom visited often, helping me navigate the complicated world of business leadership. Your father would be so proud, he told me one evening. You're doing everything he hoped you would. I wish he'd told me, I said. He should have told me he believed in me. He should have, Uncle Tom agreed. But he's telling you now, through everything he left you. 6 months after taking over, I decided to do something that had been weighing on me. I arranged to meet Alex at the same coffee shop where we'd talked before. He looked better, healthier. You look good, I said honestly. New company treating you well. It's small but it's mine. No expectations, no legacy to live up to. He paused. No sister to compete with. We didn't have to compete, Alex. That was your choice. I know that now. Took me losing everything to figure it out. He stirred his coffee. I've been in therapy. Not because Dad required it but because I needed it. Turns out I have some issues with self-worth and validation. I almost smiled. Imagine that. Yeah. He met my eyes. I'm sorry, Maya. For everything. 4 years of making you feel small so I could feel big. For taking credit for your work. For being a terrible brother. The apology felt genuine. Thank you. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't even deserve to ask for it. But I wanted you to know I finally understand what I did. I looked at my brother, really looked at him maybe for the first time in years. He wasn't the confident, cruel person I'd grown up with. He was just someone who'd made mistakes and was trying to do better. I'm not ready to forgive you completely, I said carefully. But I'm willing to start over. Slowly. As siblings who are still figuring things out. Alex nodded. That's more than I deserve. Probably, I agreed, and he laughed, a real laugh that reminded me of when we were children, before competition and resentment had poisoned everything. We talked for another hour, carefully, like people learning a new language. When we left, I felt lighter than I had in months. Dad's letter was in my purse, carried with me always. You were never useless, it said. And finally, sitting in my car, watching the sun set over the city where Dad had built his company and where I was now building my own version of it, I believed him.